Like Mika Moon reads nicely in the mouth.
Reads in the mouth. Hey guys, welcome back to Crows Before Bros. I'm Randy.
I'm Lauren.
And this is our kooky little book channel.
This is our kooky little fall video. Today we're talking about The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches.
Yes, so this is a book by Sangu Mandanna. It is 318 pages. It is adult fantasy romance.
Cozy fantasy.
Yeah,
kind of
magical realism.
Genre.
Yeah. Let's talk about the plot. The plot is no plot, just vibes. That's not true. There is a bit of a plot. So we follow our main character, Mika Moon, as she is hired to tutor 3 young witches. Mika Moon is a witch herself who's been kind of posting witchy videos pretending to be a witch, even though she's actually a witch. She's hired by this kind of quirky found family in the middle of nowhere. They literally live at Nowhere House to help train these 3 young witches whose power is like kind of exploding out of them. It makes me think of in Harry Potter when he gets like so mad that he like erases the glass and Dudley falls in and the snake is like, thanks.
Out of control.
There is concerns from like the adults in the home because an outsider is coming to the house and they don't want these girls to be outed as witches because that could mean trouble for them. That's really the plot.
The outsider that's coming is like a solicitor, which is that kind of like a social worker of sorts?
Closer to a lawyer.
So why is he coming then?
Lillian, who's the owner of the house, has not been in contact and he's in charge of all her like money
assets? Yeah, okay. He's checking to see on the whatever. Really cohesive vibe. He's coming to check and see on the whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, if you want like a book that is so cozy, like just curl up by a fire, drinking a tea with your favorite blanket, this is a good book for that. If you're looking for a book that has a lot of plot, this is probably not it.
For me, at least, like it started strong and was a little bit of a decline as the book went on.
Yeah.
At the start, I was like, this is like House Across, or what is it? It's nothing like House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. House on the Cerulean Sea vibes for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cozy, and it is. It is so cozy. But yeah, I think there was maybe some opportunity missed.
I have a note here that this book feels like it's suffering an identity crisis.
Yes.
The first 40%, super cozy fall found family vibes. The next 25% is a romance novel.
Yeah.
That I honestly could have done without. Almost all the magic and stuff is like forgotten. The kids are like forgotten. I like the idea of them like falling in love, but I didn't need it to be such like a primary part of the book. And then the last part is like this weird like big drama moment where there's like a mild kidnapping and there's like a body and I was like,
like
whiplash.
a bit of whiplash, I had this idea and I think reasonably so, reading the first, however much you said, 40% of the book, they set it up like it's a fall cozy, you know, she goes to the new house, she's living in the attic, she's helping them with their like little spells, the koi pond has been placed,
and there's like life,
you know, sunflower fields, and it's like so sweet and cute and just like vibey. So I was like jarred. Wham, we're smooching. Wham, you want to have sex with me?
Whoa. I feel like this book suffered from some tone issues where it felt like a young adult book through most of it, but then they just like say things that you're like, right, this is like an adult book, but it didn't feel like an adult book through most of it. So then when those adult things happened, it was like, whoa.
When I was reading it, I was like, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna talk about this today, and everybody who watches our channel is gonna think like I'm a big stupid prude because I'm always like, I could do without the sex scene. If it is not serving the overall arc of the story, you have to choose like ahead of schedule as an author, I feel like. Is this book going to be like a cozy fantasy that I just like am able to curl up with and feel like really sweet about? And if so, maybe we leave the sex scene out because it feels like tonally really different, right?
I have a note here too. It literally says, I'm not often this person, but the sex scene felt out of place and gratuitous. I would have been happy with a fade to black.
Totally. Like, I would have been happy with a fade to black too. I feel like maybe that's where somebody like TJ Klune succeeded. He did a really good job of making the romance feel sweet. Thematically appropriate.
There,
it felt like, yeah.
Another thing with this book that I struggled with is it felt like it had so many themes in like 300 pages. It was like, let's cover the theme of discrimination, let's cover the theme of loneliness, let's cover the theme of family and love and accepting love and friends, and a lot of themes in a very small book that it kind of felt like a bunch of them were just like really on the nose, where somebody just came in and they're like, you can't do life alone.
On this note, one thing that I thought about this book that was probably my biggest gripe was that it super lacked subtlety. This author had a really cool opportunity based on the setting. I'm seeing this kind of relationship between Ian and Ken. I'm seeing Jamie. What's the other? Lucy?
Lucy.
Barely relevant, right? But I feel like there was such an opportunity with just the setting that the author set up to not tell us, but to show us instead. And I was like, it just lacked subtlety. I almost am like, oh, I wish this concept had been maybe taken by another author. That's terrible. It's terrible to say, because there's still things that I really liked about this book. Things were on the nose more than I would have liked. There is a lot of themes now that I think about it. There's like a lot
that it like is trying to be like, learn this, take this from the book.
Like,
and
the moral of the story is these 10,000 things.
This one, or that one, this one, or that one.
As a result of that, like the author trying to accomplish, here is a moral that I want you to walk away from this book from. Some of the conversations felt kind of cardboardy. Did you find
this is actually a complaint I had about a lot of things, is that a lot of parts of the books felt one-dimensional. I think the biggest example for me is Jamie, the love interest. He's everything I should want. He's like the brooding librarian who like has 3 adopted daughters that he will like do anything for. He is so on paper wonderful, but that's kind of it. He just kind of does this thing all the time where he'll like do something and then he's like, why did I do that?
There's a conflict moment in the book where Mika and Jamie go into the whatever city so that he can go see his mom.
His family, that he's like kind of left behind.
First of all, that whole thing I think felt kind of like rushed and weird. Because it was like, okay, I saw her and now I'm healed of my childhood trauma. I was like, what
weird.
The heck? He said something like so hurtful to her in the vehicle afterwards.
And they're both like, that was okay.
What did he say? He was like, what do you know about family?
You've never had one.
I audibly, I was like, oh my.
And she's like, I know you weren't trying to hurt me.
Which is so unrealistic in terms of like how actual humans would react. And I know she's a witch and whatever, but like that would have hurt me enough to like,
I'm not talking to you. I need space.
I was like, I need space from this conversation. And it's so quickly resolved that it felt like the characters, it was like a reminder to me that the characters like were not real. It was like a reminder to me that they were just like flat, kind of one-dimensional.
I struggled with
things
this.
that an author wrote, you know?
I struggled with this also with the kids. I get the like kind of trope of like you have a young kid who like feels more adult than they are, but the kids are always like, well, absolutely, I would definitely love to do this. I'm like, no, child.
I know kids do push the boundaries of like swearing and stuff too, but I also thought that was like weirdly out of place. And like the littlest kid was like,
nobody dealt with it at all.
And I also felt kind of spoon-fed the idea that Terracotta, who's the, if I'm not mistaken, she's the middle child, right? Such a classic trope to make the middle child like the moody, broody one who has like a problem with the newcomer. The idea that she's grumpy and she's gonna take a while to warm up to you.
And she got that from Jamie, and they'll say that 100 times in the book. I think that's a thing that could have done with some subtlety too.
A lot of potential.
Some things I really, really enjoyed. The vibes are excellent through that first chunk. It's so cozy, so warm. I think they did a good job with the found family overall. There are parts where I'm like, the characters maybe fall flat, but I think their journey as a family is good. And I like the magic system. I really like the magic system.
Yeah,
it's really good.
The concept of her weaving magic potions into tea. The idea that she, you know, when she was living back at her previous place and she had that neighbor who we like never heard from again.
Which was a big deal at the beginning.
This was maybe one of the first moments in the book where I feel like I was spoon-fed a little bit. I think the author was like, this is this neighbor character, but he doesn't really like Mika. He likes just the dog. Like, he's a veterinarian and so he only cares about the dog. So her leaving is like not actually a big deal. Not that that was an important part of the book, but it just like a little bit let down. Like it would have been the same book if nobody lived in her apartment.
If anything, I think it would have been more impactful that she had nobody because that was like the plot of the whole book.
So like, why are we introduced to the veterinarian character?
To never be seen again.
To never be seen again, really.
Yeah.
I know like life does that, right? You pick up and you move and maybe you don't see the people that you were around before, but
when you're reading a book, there's that movie thing that's like if you put a gun on the wall, you have to use it at some point. I feel like books should be that way. Like do things with intention. Actually, at the end when she goes back to the house that she grew up in, I thought she was going back to the neighbor to be like, hello, the only friend I had this whole novel.
Yeah, I think would have made more sense.
Yeah.
In terms of mechanisms that I think don't need to be subtle, I can totally buy into the cuteness of like calling her punch buggy broomstick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hell yeah, that's on the nose.
Yeah.
But it's like
it's cute.
Cute on the nose, right? And like some of the things about like speeding up time and being able to travel places quickly and whatever else, there were some of the magic things that I was like, this is so great.
I loved the idea of like being able to see the magic and like thread it together, and the idea that magic wants to be used and like it can be mischievous and like, oh.
Can I just interject to say that I love that you say the word mischievous like I do, because everybody gives me grief for that. That's so stupid.
It is stupid.
The word should be mischievous.
Yes, it should.
You heard it here first.
It should sound like a little like
mischievous.
Like it's causing some trouble.
Yeah, no, I will never say it mischievous.
Mischievous.
Stupid. Oh, stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. On the note of words, this author, they used a lot of some of my favorite words. Like you must have seen that they used the word curmudgeonly in this book, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Cantankerous was in there.
Yeah. Like I think it was well written.
Yes.
Like from a literary
like the prose perspective of like what words and what sentence structure you're using. I think
you kind of want an author to get all of it though, right?
Yeah.
You kind of want an author to get the prose part, but also the plot part, but also the characters part. And that's what to me makes like a 5-star book. I couldn't help but think they're not even close to the same. Couldn't help but think of like Six of Crows. And be like, I'm enthralled with every piece of dialogue. I love the writing style. I'm invested in the characters. There is a very strong plot.
There are plot twists that like rattle me to my core. The plot twists in this book, I'm not a plot twist predictor. Pretty much right from the beginning. I was like, so Lillian either is Primrose or has a connection to Primrose.
Okay. I was actually, for the first time ever, I was actually shocked by this. I was a little disappointed because I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I thought through most of the novel that Lillian was Primrose. As it became clear that that wasn't true, I was like, well, there's obviously a connection then somehow.
Yeah, for the first time ever, you have predicted that. I didn't see that.
I think it's when they were like in the house and she's looking at the pictures and they're like a tall, like wispy, blonde, skinny woman. And
I think that's why I didn't, because you would think that she would recognize her then.
But she was always like out of focus or like half out of the picture or something. So it's like, obviously there's a character in this book that we already have a connection to that the author's trying to hide.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like didn't see it coming, but I was kind of like, that's dumb.
Okay.
I can reconcile the first half of the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Plot wise, let's talk about what happens in the back half of the book.
Okay.
Because right about when they're getting closer to the solstice, is that right?
Yeah.
They're preparing for the solstice and they're like, Edward is coming.
Edward Cullen like just running through the trees.
Hold on tight, spider monkey. Is that what he says?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the order at which things happen. So dumb, because I literally read it like yesterday. It's because there's no plot.
Yeah.
But they go to the museum, they come back, the kids are there, they're like, Edward is coming. Jamie kind of comes clean to her that Lillian is dead.
Yes.
And then she's like, you lied to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not actually upset that Lillian's dead. I'm upset that you don't trust me to go to the other witches and tell them.
Yeah. She was like, you used me. And then she's like, but I don't care that you used me because you love somebody like your kids, like, but I'm mad that you don't trust me to use me in the right way.
Specifically, she says, I can't believe that you didn't trust me not to tell the other witches in the society.
That I've never once
I barely talked to.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why, like, I mean, I have gripes about even what the book is called because of the involvement of the society is like so minimal.
Yeah.
That's like another story. That's another point. But she's upset. She leaves.
Yeah.
Jamie comes to find her.
She didn't leave when Jamie was like, you don't even have a family. What would you know? But she leaves when they're like, here's the truth. We're sorry we lied, but we were doing it to protect people. And
we were doing it to protect you. Yeah, we still like love you and want you to stay. Want you to stay, right? So she leaves. She's like, I have to think about this. I'm still gonna help you because I care about the girls, right? So she leaves.
Yeah.
And then Jamie comes to her house. I was a bit sleepy as I was reading it. At some point in time, she gets a fever, but why?
Oh, because that's when Primrose is levitating. She's levitating. Not Primrose.
Rosetta?
Terracotta. The middle one. Mika's freaking out at her because she's like, you can't control this. Like, if you fall, then you're going to die.
This is actually the beginning of the kind of, this is the beginning of the back half of the book.
Yeah.
Is where she, whatever's levitating, she takes she kind of absorbs the energy or something, and then all of a sudden she has a sprout in her throat. She's hibernating. And then she has a fever left over from that. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yeah.
That's when she like weirdly hits on Jamie.
Yeah.
And is like, kiss me. And he's like, no. Fair. Yeah. So all this happens, and then shortly after is when she finds out the truth that Lillian is dead.
Yeah.
Before she leaves, she's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So she goes up to the yard
up the grave.
and she like animates the skeleton. Yeah. And here's why. She's like, oh yeah, she is dead. But then, I don't know if you noticed, I'm like assuming in my mind that she has then dropped the skeleton, right? A whole several
she
pages
buries him again. She puts
no, I know, but a whole page, several pages of dialogue happen first. So this skeleton is just like
hanging,
right, levitating in the air, literally just like lurking. Oh my gosh, it was just up there the whole entire time.
That's wild.
Speaking of just mechanics that like were described weird, and then I was like, what?
Yeah.
Jamie comes to the house to see her.
Out of the power of love.
Out of the power of love, he finds her. Based on Google Maps.
Maybe he has like an air tag on her.
And he was there, and I was like, wait, are we back at the house? Like, he convinces her kind of to come back, right?
Like, through the power of a good dicking.
Truly. And not only the power of a good dicking, but the power of a good nose licking.
Yeah, I read that and I was like,
Eyes twinkling, he licked her nose. Why? On what planet? Sangu Mandana has like a nose fetish. And take me out of the moment.
100%. I'd be like, oh. I'd literally be like,
he licked my nose, eyes twinkling, he licked her nose. She's like, I think I'm gonna try to figure something out in terms of like disguising
myself,
or maybe we can whatever, like make me look like Lillian or something. Then all of a sudden Edward shows up at the house earlier than they get back. Yeah. Which is like super poor planning to come back the morning of the event. Yeah. Like,
you guys were together, like drive overnight, use your speed thing.
Yeah, use your speed thing.
Spend the night there. So you're there.
So that you're there no matter what time he comes. Because he's like, the solicitor is described to be kind of like staunchy and whatever, kind of a grumpy barrister type, right? And so wouldn't he come early, you know? So it's like, you want to be prepared for this big giant thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you also don't have a plan. So like, go and
get a plan, right?
Don't just get,
they like roll
down.
They roll up in the morning. Edward's already there, and Lillian, the skeleton that's been dead for a long time,
has been dug up
and dressed,
and
put
animated
in clothing and animated
by the children.
They're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know what to do, so we did this, which is like, I guess
kids, but
like, where's Ian and Ken?
Yeah, they're just hiding in the house.
Right.
The kids like chase the solicitor into the greenhouse,
and they lock him in there.
And the adults are like, yeah, sounds great.
I felt almost bamboozled because Mika was like, I can't believe that you don't trust me to not call the other witches. And then they get into this situation, and she's like, I'm gonna call the other witches. Like, she's like, I have no other choice but to call
the witch, who's like most likely to put this all in stuff.
It's like, is there not another powerful witch in that group? Like, I mean, the whole book she talks about how Primrose is the issue.
Insane.
She's like the most severe and like rule following. She's gonna split the girls up, right? If she ever knew about this, game over. Mika's whole like crux of character conflict is that she doesn't feel wanted, doesn't feel like she could be herself with anybody. She's like never had anybody who like loves her or remembers her for long or whatever. And you know, she feels used. She doesn't have anybody who like trusts her or whatever else. Like, that whole conflict is that. And she's like, I can't believe that you wouldn't trust me not to call these other witches. And Jamie's like, well, we didn't know, but we know now that you would never.
And then the first time any conflict shows up, she's like, better call Primrose.
Better call Primrose. I was like, what the hell? Here I thought like it would be so empowering if she was able to manage it with her own power.
Or like
up the strength
call
to
up
be...
even someone like Heidi or the other witches that she's like loosely friends with and has connected with again through the book.
Well, then we kind of are able to butt up against Primrose's strong opinion.
We can't all be together.
Right. Which also like rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I don't like when a book preaches to me. So like when we get to the end and then Mika's like, she like rolls up her sleeves and she's like, Primrose, I want to have a chat with you. And she like basically therapizes her into being like,
she's like, I don't know what your past is.
Exactly.
But we should all be doing this together. Like that's the
this is how the problem was solved. By coming together and doing it, you're informed by your trauma. And I was like, what the hell?
It felt like at the end, everybody got like friendship rings. And they all like fist bumped together and they all lit up. And it was like, yay!
The end.
The end.
How does it actually end? She opens up a
tea shop and hosts the
on
society
the property.
there. Yeah.
And then the society comes to be kind of with her.
Yeah.
And then what? Nothing. That's the end.
Yeah. There are things I enjoyed about the book and I really can appreciate the potential of it, but there were so many things that just fell flat or too like in my face. I really wanted to be invested in this romance, for example, but I was so bored with Jamie as a character that I was like...
I also think if they would have approached it with a little bit more subtlety and a little bit more like, you know, stolen glances and whatever, and he's kind of like...
It's just suddenly
he's coming
like,
around on his grumpiness, you know, but they're like, oh, now all of a sudden we're seeing each other every night and I'm coming into your library and you're coming up into my attic and we're
like,
hanging out and he's like, but I don't like you. And you're like, this is obviously like a romance ploy. Yeah. Like I just think it could have been done like a lot better. I would have gotten more with less. Yeah. Identity crisis book for sure. Yeah. Which is a bummer. House in the Cerulean Sea was one of my favorites last year. Yeah. It's hard not to compare them, right? Yeah. It is compared a lot online too, right? Like it's compared in tons and tons of people are like, oh, if you liked this, you'll like this. And I feel like I went in with that expectation, which maybe didn't serve me very well. How are we doing so much weird stuff with so little? Yeah. Really. The whole plot is like, Edward's coming.
I don't want you to come.
Yeah. It's like the whole book is like a Eye of the Tiger montage of them learning how to use their magic.
I think I would have been okay with that if the book stuck to like that.
Just the moral of like, you can belong if you let people in. Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier about the prose being good, like the descriptive words being good for the most part. Okay. Did you notice the overuse of any one specific word?
No, I never notice these things unless someone points it out to me first.
It has to do with the description of Mika's eyes. She called them inky all the time, the whole book long. I was like, give me something else. Like, what does that even mean? I'm like seeing
ink could be any color.
I'm seeing like ink cartridges over her eyes. Do you have to say that
every time?
Every single time that you describe her eyes? Her inky eyes. I was like, ooh, she got squids for eyes. Ooh,
just like in Mario when you get like, it's the kind of book that I can understand why a lot of people like it. Like it has pretty good ratings online because if you're looking for a book that is like just cozy and you don't want to like think and it's going to give you everything, it's probably a good fit. And there's probably points in my life where this book would have like felt really good. Also, the last book I read was no plot, just vibes, and so I was like maybe looking for a bit more. That.
There's some, I think, missed opportunities for full circle moments. I think the plot was lacking. I think mostly the characters were lacking. I'm trying to think of like who my favorite character was, and I think it was the dog.
What is your rating?
I want to say like the first 40% was like a 4.5. Yeah. But like a 3.5? I don't know. I would be willing to round down if your score is lower.
Yeah, I think I put mine as a 3.25 in Storygraph. Because I was just like, I want to give it more.
Potential.
I want to give it more for the potential and for some of the things, but there's so many things that fell flat for me that I was like, I can't. 3 is our kind of womp womp category of like, this had potential. Yeah. And it just didn't reach
so like 3.25, 3.5 about that? Yeah.
It felt like a book where the author like had the initial idea and she was like, she's a witch, she's gonna go, you know, help raise 3 kids, she's gonna fall in love with a broody librarian. That's what I got. So we'll just start writing and kind of see what happens along the way.
I would say that that's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. I don't know. Sangu Mandana, if you're watching this video.
We're sorry.
We're so sorry.
Lots of people love this book.
It's just, they do. It's just like maybe not quite enough for me.
Yeah. It might be a case of like,
my brain was nowhere house.
And I think it's like a case of, this was not the book for me. It is a book that a lot of people would really enjoy. What song did you pick?
It's a joke song.
Nice.
I think it's called Hot and Cold. It's the theme song from Weekend at Bernie's. Not for any other reason than just the vibe of it.
It's not reanimating a dead body.
Right. It's not lyrically related. It's just
the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe. What did you choose for your song?
I chose Ready Now by Dodie.
Okay.
When I was looking for a song, I wanted to find something kind of witchy, but then I was like, but I wanted to musically kind of fit the vibe, and I was like, I don't know that those things necessarily often coincide. So I actually turned to Dodie because she kind of has found family kind of vibes in her songs.
Totally.
And so
That voice is cozy too.
she's kind of a cozy person. The lyrics are, you saw through me, all this time I'd forgotten that people are kind. I was hurting and you knew me, so you showed me what to do.
They even use the word kind in there. That was another moral that we were supposed to learn. Was that kind
People
and nice are not the same. We're at the end.
We are
of the video.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We hope you liked this video. Our camera cut off right before we got to say goodbye, so I just wanted to put a quick happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys are having a wonderful fall. We'll see you next time and we love you lots. Bye!